What's going on, guys? This is the Red Rogue, and today's video is going to be a quick update on my favoriteest, most swashbuckling, pistol-shooting spec of rogue in the game, Outlaw. This was a change that got pushed to the PTR this week prior to the beta build, so let's get into it and talk about the big change to Between the Eyes. Before I get started with the video, I just wanted to say hello and thank you so much to my two newest patrons for the channel. If you're watching this particular video, Benjamin, I left a message via Patreon so as to know what your preferred name will be in the credits to all future videos on the channel. I also have another new patron to welcome to the Super Shiba Squad, Jerobi. Again, thank you both so much for your consideration and support for the channel. I'll do my best to keep bringing out the hopefully informative, helpful, and slightly snarky Shiba Shenanigans every weekday that I have been. So, a quick explanation of the move that has been changed in the most recent PTR build, Between the Eyes. Between the Eyes is our ranged finishing move as Outlaw. This move does quadruple damage when it critically hits, which is the same as it was in Battle for Azeroth. However, its cooldown has been bumped up to a hefty 45 seconds. The stun effect you're probably used to is gone as of the pre-patch and going into Shadowlands, just as a heads up. And due to that change, we were given back the old classic kidney shot stun finisher. In exchange for this loss of a ranged stun, there was a bonus attached to Between the Eyes. In the early versions of the Shadowlands beta, this bonus was tied to a debuff applied to your target that increased critical hit chance and critical hit damage by 20%. However, this ability quite literally wasn't working right for most of the beta, and was changed to only improve the critical hit damage about a month or two ago. Well, it has once again changed, this time to give a 20% critical hit chance bonus to that target. I know, kinda confusing that it keeps hopping around like a demon hunter on Kajakola, but yeah, what are you gonna do? So now, after this latest change, we are at the current version of Between the Eyes, which causes your target to receive a debuff that makes them 20% more likely to be critically hit. Now, this is a way bigger buff than you might be thinking it is, in both single target and more importantly, AoE. Critical hit damage increases can be effective, especially when you already have a very large amount of critical strike chance. However, a big issue with the old critical hit damage bonus Between the Eyes originally had was due to the fact that it would only affect your primary target, and even then it wouldn't affect it by nearly as much as you might be thinking. This next bit of information is entirely thanks to Kojiyama, one of the major rogue theory crafters over on Ravenhold. Basically, there are two types of critical damage multipliers that are used in damage calculations. And with the way Between the Eyes was calculated, it was not nearly as large of an increase as, say, the Blood of the Enemy buff version. That, and the worst thing about the Between the Eyes crit damage bonus was that it didn't work with Blade Flurry. Blade Flurry takes the normal damage of your initial hit and spreads it out to the additional targets. What this means is that if a target has a specific debuff on them that affects their damage taken, it will still only affect that target. That's why the Blood of the Enemy one was so good, because it was actually a buff applied to your character, which meant it was part of your normal damage. With a crit chance debuff, however, it is still technically normal damage being spread out from your initial target. It just so happens that that target is more likely to be critically hit now. Critical hits will still spread their damage out, so for example, if I hit a target dummy here for about 3,000, it will take 40% of that damage and put it on these other ones here, which is right around 1,200 or so. Blade Flurry can't double dip in effects, however, so as an example, you can't have a Blade Flurried attack critically hit on the additional target. It just takes the damage from your primary target and takes 40% or 45% of it if you're running Dancing Steel and does the damage out from that. This will mean we will have to stay fixated on the same target for the duration of the Between the Eyes debuff, as otherwise you will not receive any benefits from the critical hit chance bonus. That kind of bites, but honestly would have been the same result as it was with any of the prior versions of Between the Eyes as well. I do really wish that they would just make the crit chance bonus a player buff versus an applied debuff, but oh well. The other thing to remember is that, depending on your legendary choice or Covenant Soulbind choice and the Roll the Bones buffs, there can be such a thing as too much critical hit chance at any given time. Critical Strike is unfortunately the one stat in the game that you can reach a maximum effectiveness of, and after you reach 100%, it is a complete waste of stats. So without further testing and simulations, it's hard to say, but something like this new version of Between the Eyes could very easily affect our stat priority, potentially pushing Critical Strike down a little bit. This is still a fantastic improvement to our AoE though, and I'm very excited to see that they switched it from critical hit damage to critical strike, because otherwise the move really wouldn't have had much effectiveness at all in AoE scenarios, which is kind of what Outlaw's really good at, so it makes sense that the Between the Eyes buff should be something that we're applying consistently while in combat, whether it's single target or AoE. This one is a little shorter than usual, and I apologize for that. However, I'm already working on the next couple videos because of this most recent beta build that came out while I was putting this one together, and oh boy, are there a lot of big things to go over. I hope you folks enjoyed this little update on the Outlaw Rogue ability Between the Eyes. If so, then any likes, comments, or new subscribers would be exceptionally kind things of you to do. If you're new around to this little corner of the YouTube algorithm, I'd like to welcome you to come check out the rest of the channel. I do new uploads every weekday on a variety of content, with a heavy emphasis on my sneaky boy rogue stuff. As always, I want to thank all of my regular commenters, viewers, subscribers, and especially my patrons who help make these Shiba Shenanigans possible. Thank you all so much for watching. This is the Red Rogue, and I'll see you guys around.